Ladies and gentlemen, is this thing on? I'm going to do this with one take. All right. Hello and welcome to Bad Analogies, where we're exploiting every loophole, dodging every obstacle, and penetrating the bureaucracy. Let's get started. I'm your host, Alex Mishwork. We are regretfully not in the studio with our co-host Chris West today. I'm gonna try my best to fly solo. We'll see how it goes. When I asked, hmm, it's so hard to. It is a skill to talk by yourself to a camera. I mean, staring at a lens in a fake studio. This is going to be a lot harder than I thought. When you know that you can, edit, when you know that you can slice things together, when you know that you don't really have, you can always re-record, you can always delete or do something, in post. There's always feels like there's an out, and when you have an out, it kind of makes you think about what you're saying and whether you judge what you're saying as you're saying it. It reminds me actually of something that a professor in college said. He was an English professor, and he said that he would make us do these handwritten exercises where he'd basically have you do a brain dump of everything you think about what you just read, and you had to write. You could not stop writing. That was the thing. You're not allowed to stop writing. And the reason is he didn't want the editor brain to kick in. He said, okay, write for 60 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever it is, and your pen can't stop moving. And then draw a line down half the page and write the best thing that you wrote on the first brain dump, and find that thing, and then don't stop moving your pen. Even if what you're saying is, oh, I'm writing this right now, I'm writing something, just because my pen doesn't stop, I have to think of something to write about, the Odyssey or the Iliad or something like that. You had to keep writing. And the idea behind it, and the reason why he encouraged us to do that rather than using Microsoft Word to take notes or Microsoft Word to do our rough draft of things, he said your rough draft should be in pen. And the reason is because when you have the little flashing cursor of the Microsoft Word cursor, so you can hit the backspace. When you can hit backspace at any moment in your sentence, you're not developing your thought anymore. You're critiquing it, you're editing it, and you're judging whether or not that word is as good as another word. And because it's so easy to just go backspace, it's less energy to go back than it is to go forward. Whereas when you're writing, you have a certain amount of momentum. And that momentum, when you're halfway through writing the word expeditiously, you're committed to that word. That's a great word. That's the word you chose. You can't just say halfway through, oh, it would have been better for me to say efficiently or quickly. No, you can't do that. You have to keep moving forward. So, because when you're writing, there's an energy cost to stopping, erasing, all that kind of stuff. And so I thought it was kind of an interesting thought to think about. Let's just apply it, shall we, to what we're really doing. Right now, I'm trying to reboot this podcast. I don't know who's going to listen to it. But to me, that's a really good idea to notice the difference between the tool that you're interacting with and the goal that you are trying to accomplish. So if you're trying to accomplish coming up with something creative or interesting to say about a book, and you're trying to come up with an idea, probably not helpful to be judging yourself halfway through the thought. Because if you're editing, you're not discovering what it is you think, or even throwing something up against the wall to see what's there. You can't see what's there if you're just preventing it because you're judging it as you go. So, far be it from a planned topic, I'm very glad that I didn't plan this topic because this is exactly the thing that I'm experiencing right now, literally as I'm talking to you, is it's easy to sit here and judge the quality of the output before you have anything. I don't have anything. You know what I mean? I don't have anything yet. I don't have I don't have a direction or a topic, but I am sitting here sharing with you one of the best things as far as idea generation that I have ever learned in college, and that is let's make a mess of things, throw something against the wall, see what sticks, let everything fall off that doesn't stick, and then expound on that. Draw a line down the middle of the page, carry those things that stuck over, and then start a new idea. Start a new, fresh idea. That right there was, along with one other phrase, which was a really popular one. Good friend of mine, Father Chad Henry, uses this one. His memory his memory is much better than mine. If I had half the memory of my friend Father Chad, I probably I think it'd be safe to say I'm a super genius. Now, you would say, well, then does that mean he's a super genius? Not really. Unfortunately, memory is not all you need. You need wit and intelligence and cunning. You know, you could be somewhat functionally savantish with a good memory. But, I mean, if I had half his memory, I mean, I could remember all of these different quotes from the smartest people in college. And, you know, I could probably make a pretty interesting podcast if I had that kind of memory. But alas, I don't. I have one other good line, though, and that was when you're trying to come up with a topic or something interesting to talk about, you should just scratch where it itches. That's what one teacher said. He said, just scratch where it itches. Which, I mean, I guess that's just a way of saying, like, what is remotely interesting to you, you should lean into that. And so then it bears the question, what's remotely interesting to me, because this is my podcast, so no one really else gets to decide, you know, what gets discussed here. It's the beauty of the internet is all of this is free. It costs me nothing, and it costs you nothing to turn it off. So we're just gonna be here at Bad Analogy, scratching where it itches in a very metaphorical way, in a very analogical way. There won't be any scratching of anything else. You know what I mean? People, I've said it before on the show. People say there's that old adage with regard to not scratching but petting. They say don't sweat the petty things, and don't pet the sweaty things. Am I right? Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I would say where in life, right? Because right now, starting a podcast is like while it is the most cliche thing, as G.K. Chesterton says, there are many things in life that are commonplace. They're common to all men, but they're not commonplace. And what does that mean? He means like death, birth. He means like things like the difficulties of, say, marriage or family or in-laws or something like that. He says that when man contemplates his own death, or when a family or a mother or a child goes through birth, it feels like something that is tailor-made, totally radically, nobody knows how I feel, unique to us. And he says that's the weird thing about some things in life is that you don't see people giving birth in the library or out in the street because it's not commonplace, but it is common to all men. And starting a podcast is very much so as a millennial in 2022. So I would say starting a podcast is both. It is commonplace. It's super common. All these podcasts start apparently like 0.01 or something, like less than 1% of podcasts actually succeed. And that's primarily just due to the fact that they don't post something every day for 5 days straight. Not 5 days, sorry, if that's why they fail. 5 years straight. But getting back to the depth of G.K. Chesterton's thought is that as you're starting it, it feels like a totally radically personal, like very terrifying thing, a very awkward thing. And in that way, maybe there's something interesting about it because for me, this is totally not cliche. This is totally not. I'm actually trying hard to actually think of something interesting or a value to say or to share and to create something, right? As far as some sort of podcast or talk show or something. But on paper, this is like the exact same thing. It's very commonplace. This is happening out in the street. This is happening out on the internet. This is happening. Everyone's doing this. Everyone starts a podcast. But the interesting part about watching reality TV or reality anything is that generally speaking, if we know that a person is invested, like there's skin in the game, we know what skin in the game feels like. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see if somebody's just going to crash and burn. It's interesting to see if somebody can take something commonplace and actually make it like uncommonly good or uncommonly bad. For instance, like everyone gets married, but it's amazing when you see somebody do marriage really well and is like a great husband or a great wife. It's very common to have kids, but there's not a lot of, ratio wise, there's a lot of, sacrificial parents, but there's not necessarily a lot of really great parents. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people in the workforce, but very few people who are incredible or, really admirable. So there are commonplace things. And I think we have to have a reasonable amount of hope or suspicion that that something common that we're watching that's like really normal that everyone's doing, that the character in it has like either a real chance of maybe pulling ahead, a real chance of them winning the race, a real chance of them making something uncommonly good out of something common, or and this is why the internet is beautiful. We also I have a really good gauge. I think some people, I think all have a more commonly shared gauge of when something's going south, and it's like, this is going to be a train wreck. I'm going to tune into this. I'm tuning into this. But I think, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is I am hedging my bets that this is commonplace enough. This is cliche and cringe enough to either inspire just the slightest bit of curiosity that maybe something good will happen here. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a good. Maybe I will find in the ramblings of this lunatic something that I already knew, but I never knew how to say before. And maybe you're just. Maybe if you're listening to this, you're just like kind of judging the outcome of something you're kind of curious about or interested in starting, but you're just judging it too much. Because I know, like, I can tell you, writing down without stopping, with no backspace button as you go, with no cuts, no edits, no re-records, like I'm going to leave in just the super slow cringe startup of this video. Because you're not going to get anywhere. You can't really get anywhere unless you just get the engine going and you hit the gas. Some people, they execute at a very high level while planning everything ahead. Like they don't make a move until they've planned out what they're going to do. But eventually you have to start with an imperfect step. So anyways, long story short, just to conclude, just to summarize here, write without a backspace button, write without stopping. Don't take your pen off of the page. And then once you do stop, look at what you have and go with the best thing in there. Go with the best thing from the rant. Go with the best idea, and then expound on that. And then don't stop writing. Write by hand, I guess. And then even if you're doing something, I think even if we're all doing something it's weird because like I I've made tuna sandwiches before. Okay, I know how to make a great tuna sandwich. I don't really think I'm basically convinced there's not a way to improve on like a tuna fish sandwich once you've learned how to make it and you make it the way you like it. I'm I'm doubtful I'll ever find a tuna sandwich that is improved in some way. I can't really even fathom it. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I would watch a video of a person making the perfect tuna fish sandwich, and it's just a guy who's like started up a channel like because he likes making sandwiches, and that there seems to be something about either the internet, either it's boredom with ourselves, or it's like genuine like we're all hoping to find someone who can obliterate our standard for what a tuna sandwich is. And so there's a glimmer of hope. Like tuna fish sandwiches and cooking shows are a dime a dozen. They are commonplace. Okay, they're not birth. They're not hidden behind a veil of mystery of human experience, pain, and ecstasy. They are tuna fish sandwiches and cooking shows are about as run of the mill as you can get. However, I kind of want to know if this guy with a really nice Serbian chef's knife who's living in a one-bedroom apartment posting on the internet, I'm kind of wondering if he knows something about canned tuna fish that I don't know. Maybe he's got maybe he maybe he found something in the deep recesses of the internet from from the bowels of the internet of southern Japan that I don't know about tuna fish, how to make it fresh and delicious and not taste like soaked cardboard and and lint. Maybe he knows how. Maybe he knows the secret, right? Or it's so painful to watch this guy cook, I just can't look away. But regardless, I guess that's my way of justifying what it is that you're watching here. You're watching somebody, go for it, and we're going for it. It's so common to make a podcast, and my hope is that it's either obviously a train wreck enough for you to be confirmed in your instincts. You're like, okay, great, my cringe meter, it's working. I had a suspicion this is going to go south. Now it's going south. Okay, it's painful. I lost some time, but now I know my calibrator, my compass and my sensors are still calibrated. Or there's just enough value and there's just enough like intellectual stimulation and humor for somebody to be like, yeah, it's worth listening to on the way to work. I don't have anything. I already read deep enough books on my off time in the silence in the corner of my room, or I already listen to enough serious, profound things on Audible. Or maybe you just don't have somebody who's, if this is the highest level, this should be a concern for you. Let me put it this way: if this show is like where you're getting a lot of your good ideas, or like if this show ends up being the thing that you are you're getting, this is this is the highest level of intellectual activity that you're getting, then we really need to and I'm saying this, I'm with you. I'm here to support you. Drop me a line in the comments. I respond to all 2 of my subscribers. But we together, we need to reevaluate your lifestyle, your life choices, and your education. You know what I mean? Because this can't be it. This has to be for those who understand that this is a self-aware and partially ironic exercise here. So if you're not getting it, do you know what I mean? If you're not getting it, then you should probably turn off this podcast and go listen to something a little more like unironically serious. You know what I mean? Because it's a very serious show. It's very serious, but it's not serious like the way that it's not the way you're taking it. You're taking it a little too seriously. Anyways, look, not all tangents can be winners. I learned that. I learned that from my brother. He says, look, when he has a joke that falls horribly flat, which is like 98% of the time, he says, look, they can't all be winners. And actually, there are a lot of great lines like that. My sister-in-law's father, so it'd be my brother's father-in-law. He said my sister-in-law told me that when he's working, and she hears him make a mistake on the computer, so, oh, I shouldn't have downloaded that, or shoot, I shouldn't have deleted that. She can hear him in the other room, and then she can hear him just say, I forgive myself. That's my new favorite line, because the second you're like, oh gosh, I totally forgot to bring that. Oh, I forgive myself. That's all right. Anyways, so if we were to tie a thread, if we were to thread the needle here, right? The three needles, the three sharp, deep points that we've made. It's that you should just throw stuff up against the wall, see what sticks. Don't stop writing. Write without thinking, and then take the good, leave the rest. Don't use the backspace button on life. Don't edit yourself as you're trying to come up with ideas. It's okay to edit after you've come up with ideas, but you got to come up with some bad ideas. You got to make some bad videos until you find out what good videos are, or what parts of your videos are good, and then you maximize that. All right, so same with food, same with relationships, same with everything. You have to you kind of have to suck at something if you ever want to be good at something. And the cool part about saying things like that on a podcast is it's very commonplace, and everyone's doing it. But hopefully, maybe something, maybe something cringe enough or cool enough will come out of it to where it's worth watching to find out which one happens. And lastly, if you make a mistake or it doesn't work out and you end up getting a bunch of gibberish, then just do what my sister-in-law's father or my brother's father-in-law, whichever one you prefer. Just do as he does and just say, I forgive myself. This has been an episode of Bad Analogies, and I'm really grateful for the time that you spent with me here in the new studio. The lighting is sometimes good, sometimes maybe not so good. So we hope you enjoyed, and this is just the beginning. So we hope you join us next time on Bad Analogies. We'll catch you on the next one. Oh, thumbnail photo. Thumbnail photo. Thumbnail photo. Thumbnail photo. Broken microphone? Man, that doesn't get old. All right, peace out.